So imagine you want to make like $344,000 this year in sales. Normal business math says you need to make 19 calls a day. But according to Grant Cardone's the 10X rule, well, if you aren't making 191 calls a day, you are basically failing.
Yeah, failing completely.
Right. So today we're taking a deep dive into the math, the madness, and the actual mechanics behind this whole 10X philosophy. We're pulling from a stack of summaries, critical reviews, and even Cardone's own worksheets to really break this down.
And the absolute gist of this book is that to guarantee success, you have to set targets 10 times higher than you actually want.
Right. And then take 10 times the massive action.
Exactly, just completely eradicating any average thinking. And our mission today is to figure out, is this 10X philosophy an actual foolproof roadmap to greatness? Or is it just like a highly optimized recipe for severe burnout?
Okay, let's unpack this. Let's start with the actual core claims he's making here.
Well, there are a few main pillars. First, you must take massive action. Second, he argues that obscurity, and not a lack of talent, is your biggest problem. Like, people simply don't know who you are.
Which is incredibly valid, right? Like, that's completely factual in business.
It is. It totally is. But the third claim is where it gets pretty aggressive. He says you must commit first and figure the details out later.
Okay, wait. I mean, I understand hustling,
Yeah.
but telling people to commit to massive projects before they even know how to execute them, how did that not just end in immediate bankruptcy?
It's the danger.
It's like packing for a weekend trip, but preparing as if you're climbing Everest.
Yeah.
Or trying to win a Formula One race by just, I don't know, taping the gas pedal to the floor. Sure, volume and speed matter, but that completely ignores steering, pit stops, or just burning out the engine.
That's a great analogy. His reasoning, though, the why behind this, is that committing first acts as a psychological forcing function. Like if you sign a massive contract you aren't ready for, the sheer terror of failing forces you to innovate faster.
Oh, wow. Just pure panic mode.
Exactly. Faster than you ever would have in a comfortable planning phase. But you're right, there is a massive logical gap here. Cardone claims that victims make excuses and you must take complete, absolute responsibility for everything.
Which sounds good on paper.
Sure, accountability is vital, but it falsely assumes we have control over all external market variables,
Yeah.
like sudden supply chain collapses or economic shifts, which we simply don't.
Yeah.
It kind of lacks basic empathy.
Right, totally. So if committing blindly creates all this potential chaos, how does he actually justify this working in the real world? Let's look at his exact sales math.
Let's do it.
We have his calculation worksheet. So let's go back to that $344,000 goal for a second. If your commission is $1,000 per sale, you need 344 sales. At a standard 6% close rate, you need to make about 5,700 contacts.
Right.
Spread over 300 working days, that's about 19 calls a day. Totally reasonable, right? But under the 10X rule, you multiply that action by 10 to guarantee success.
So you're jumping way up.
Yeah, you are suddenly supposed to make 191 calls every single day.
What's fascinating here is the underlying mathematical assumption. Cardone is assuming that volume linearly equals success. He completely ignores human limits.
I mean, making 191 sales calls a day.
It will almost certainly degrade the quality of your pitch,
Yeah.
which will absolutely tank your conversion rate. It heavily relies on just a brute force approach.
Which brings up an intense debate we found on Reddit. Users were comparing the friction between the 10X rule and Tim Ferriss's The 4-Hour Workweek.
Oh, yeah. Two totally different worlds.
Right. They're pitching completely opposite versions of success.
They really are. The 10X rule relies heavily on constant hustle. And to be fair, that is a valid approach for commission-based sales where volume truly is king.
Sure.
But the 4-Hour Workweek values automation, delegation, and leverage. The thing is, Cardone presents massive action as the absolute only way to succeed, which is just misleading. Working smarter and building systems can yield massive results without grinding yourself into dust.
Exactly. So what does this all mean? Like, if you're listening to this, the real danger isn't that the 10X rule doesn't work. It's that it might work for a month before you completely break your own systems.
Yeah, the realistic takeaway is that 10X is a scaling strategy, not an operational one. It's a really strong motivational tool to break you out of a comfort zone.
Right.
Use the 10X mindset to expand your vision, but use normal systems like efficiency, careful planning, and delegation to actually execute without burning out.
So basically, use the vision, but don't break the engine.
Spot on.
Well, here is a final thought to mull over. If everyone in your industry suddenly applied the 10x rule and started taking massive action, wouldn't that just redefine what average is?
That's a terrifying thought.
I mean, eventually you'd just be forced to invent the 100x rule just to stand out.